There's a kind of suffering that lives quietly in almost every mind. It doesn't scream. It doesn't bleed. It doesn't even need a reason. It lives in a never-ending stream of thoughts that swirl, pull, and repeat again and again. Worries about the future, regrets from the past, conversations that never happened, dreams that turn to dread, and the endless voice that narrates all of it, like a radio you can't turn off. This is the quiet suffering of thought addiction. And most of us are deeply entangled in it without even knowing. But what if the Buddha was right? What if true strength doesn't come from controlling our thoughts, but from finding freedom from their grip? What if suffering itself can become a doorway to peace? Number 1, what is thought addiction? Thought addiction isn't about thinking too much. It's about being consumed by thought. It's when the mind believes every thought it thinks. It's when silence becomes unbearable and the present moment feels empty unless it's filled with mental chatter. It's when we're always somewhere else, reliving, anticipating, analyzing, never simply being. In Buddhist psychology, this is not unusual. It's called papanka, the proliferation of thought, a mental chain reaction that turns a single idea into 1,000 worries. A passing comment becomes a judgment. A moment of silence becomes rejection. A missed call becomes a threat. The mind spins stories, and the stories become reality. This is how suffering is born, not from the world itself, but from the thoughts we attach to it. Number 2, the Buddha's insight. The Buddha saw this clearly. He taught that suffering arises not just from pain, but from clinging. And the deepest clinging is not to possessions or people. It's to the mind's own movements. In the Satipatthana Sutta, the Buddha instructs, observe the mind as the mind. Know when it is restless, know when it is calm. He didn't say, control it, suppress it, or escape it. He said, know it. Because freedom begins not by fighting thought, but by recognizing its nature. Thoughts are not facts. They're not self. They are impermanent. They are conditioned. And when we see them this way, we loosen the grip they have on us. This is the beginning of inner freedom. Number 3, the illusion of control. Most people try to solve thought addiction by thinking more. They analyze their patterns. They over-identify with their traumas. They fight thought with thought. But as the Buddha reminded us, the mind is like fire. It feeds on itself. Trying to solve overthinking by thinking is like trying to extinguish fire with more fire. You cannot think your way to peace. You can only observe your way there. Freedom doesn't come from better thoughts. It comes from a different relationship to thought. Like clouds in the sky, they come and go, and the sky remains untouched. Number 4, the practice of seeing clearly. In Buddhism, the practice that liberates us from thought addiction is vipassana, insight. It's the practice of seeing clearly. We sit in silence, not to make thought stop, but to see it arise and pass. We become aware of how thought begins, out of sensation, memory, craving. We watch how it pulls emotion, how it spins a narrative, how it creates identity. And in that watching, a gap appears. In that gap, there is no suffering. There is only awareness, still and wide. Here, thoughts no longer dominate. They drift by like leaves on a river. And in that space, peace is born. Number 5, turning suffering into strength. So how does this transform suffering into strength? Because suffering is not the enemy. It's a teacher. When we're caught in painful thoughts, it's not a sign of failure. It's an invitation to return, to look within, to meet the mind with compassion instead of fear. This is where strength is forged, not from escaping suffering, but from leaning into it with open awareness. The Buddha once said, as a solid rock is not shaken by the wind, So the wise are not moved by praise or blame. This stability, this inner power, doesn't come from mastering thought. It comes from releasing it. Letting go of the need to be right. Letting go of the story of me. Letting go of the storm inside the mind. And standing instead in the calm center of awareness. Number 6, from noise to silence. Many people are afraid of silence because they don't know what they'll find there. They fear the space without distraction. But in Buddhism, silence is not emptiness. It is fullness. It is presence. It is clarity. It is home. When we learn to be still, not forced stillness, but gentle, honest stillness, we discover that the storm was never the enemy. It was always pointing us inward. And in that silence, beyond the addiction to thought, we hear something deeper. A truth that doesn't speak in words. A peace that doesn't depend on understanding. A love that arises from simply being. Number 7, real-world practice, daily life mindfulness. You don't have to be a monk to practice this. You don't need a cave, a temple, or a robe. You just need a moment of awareness. Notice the thought that says, I'm not enough. Notice the thought that says, they don't like me. Notice the thought that says, this will never get better. Pause, breathe, watch. Ask yourself, is this thought true? Is it useful? Or is it just another echo of fear? You don't need to answer. You just need to watch it pass. Freedom doesn't come from stopping thoughts. It comes from not following them. This is how the mind becomes your friend. This is how compassion grows, not just for yourself, but for all beings who suffer under the weight of their own minds. Number 8, loving the mind, not fighting it. It's important to say, the mind is not the enemy. In Buddhism, the mind is also the path. It creates delusion, yes, but it also holds the potential for awakening. When we stop being at war with our thoughts, we start to see them clearly. And when we see clearly, we act wisely. We speak with more care. We listen with more patience. We respond with more love. This is not weakness, it's profound strength. To meet even our most painful thoughts with tenderness. That is the power of the awakened heart. Number 9, returning to the now. Addiction to thought is addiction to elsewhere. We live in yesterday's memory or tomorrow's fear, but we miss the only place we're ever truly alive, now. Right here, right now, this breath, this feeling, this stillness. The Buddha's path always leads back to the present. Not because it's trendy or mindful, but because it's true. The present moment is the only place where thought can't drag you. Here, suffering becomes a teacher. Here, thought becomes transparent. Here, the heart opens. Number 10, conclusion, the gentle path of liberation. Freedom from thought addiction is not about perfection. It's not about having no thoughts. It's about remembering that you are not your thoughts. It's about discovering that awareness is larger than any fear, any story, any suffering. This is the gift of the Buddha's teaching, to show us that liberation is not far away, is not in the next idea. It is not in solving the puzzle of life. It is in returning to what is already whole within you, returning to the peace that doesn't need answers, returning to the quiet strength of simply being. So the next time your mind races, the next time thoughts spin in circles, pause, breathe, and remember, you're not your thoughts. You're the awareness watching them. And in that awareness, you are free. If this message brought you a moment of stillness, a moment of clarity, a moment of peace, then carry it gently into your day and share that peace with others. Because freedom, once found, is meant to be given. And in giving it, we heal. Together.